Greetings, my name is Dr. Jim Meny, and this is Chapter 1 for Supply Chain Management. Let's take a look at Chapter 1. For the introduction, we're going to identify the elements of operations and supply chain management. We're also going to look at the potential career opportunities in operations and supply chain management, as well as learning the major concepts that define the operations and supply chain management field. And we're going to evaluate the efficiency of a company. You're in good hands here because in addition to the academic responsibilities that I have here, I've taught this class multiple times at different universities, and also I've actually created supply chains in the business field. Let's take a look at Southwest Airlines turnaround efficiency. I don't know if everyone here has flown on Southwest Airlines, but they're known for their efficiency, and they're known for being able to load planes and deplane rather quickly. Some of the facts concerning this company involve 4,000 flights a day using over 740 planes. There's an average of 5 flights per plane per day, and they can do a turnaround in anywhere from 30 to 55 minutes. No assigned seats helps in their effort, and any savings in turnaround could mean more flights per plane per day. And what does that mean? If there's more flights per plane per day, there's more revenue. Southwest is a leader in minimizing the turnaround, and many other airlines have copied that strategy. And they are an example of operational efficiency. Let's take a look at the individual elements of supply chain. Basically, it involves a combination of strategy, processes, and analytics. It's a clever integration of a great operations-related strategy, its processes to deliver products and services, and also its analytics to support the decisions needed to make the firm. In essence, the numbers help management decide what to do. So for operations supply chain management specialist areas, you have product design, purchasing, manufacturing, service operations, logistics, and distribution. Operations and supply chain management, or we're going to use the acronym in this class, OSCM, is defined as the design, operation, improvement of the systems that create the delivery of a firm's primary products and services. OSCM is a functional field of business with clear line management responsibilities. It's a functional field of business, clear line management responsibilities, and also it's concerned with the management of the entire production delivery system. Let's take a look at a jeans supply chain. We're talking regular dungaree jeans that you wear. The first thing you have to do is plant the cotton. Then the cotton is irrigated, fertilized, and weeded, and then when it's harvested, it's separated from the seeds, and it's cleaned. Then that product goes to fabric manufacturing, and that's where the cotton is actually spun into yarn, and then the yarn is dyed blue, and then it's woven into the denim fabric. Now you have the raw fabric, and that goes to jeans manufacturing, where it's cut to the jeans pattern. The pieces are assembled and sewn, and then the hardware, the rivets that you see on the jeans are there. It's washed and distressed. Sometimes that's the fashion that is requested. It's pressed, embroidered, and labeled. And then what happens after that? The jeans then are shipped to distribution centers, then shipped to regional warehouses, and then shipped to retail outlets, and then sold to individual customers. In this day and age, sometimes the jeans are actually shipped directly to the consumer from the warehouse, eliminating the retail outlet and some of the regional warehouses. Next slide. Distinguishing operations versus supply chain processes. So in operations is defined as manufacturing and service processes used to transform resources into products. The supply chain is the processes that move information and material to and from the firm. If we take a look at a graphical representation of it, number one, you've got strategy, products, and capacity. How does the firm's strategy impact its products and processes? Well, we take a look at number two, which is the manufacturing and service processes. By the way, does everyone know the difference between manufacturing and service? Well, we'll get into that more specifically later on. But in any case, those are two pieces of operations. How are the processes that transform resources into products designed? And that varies by company and by product. Number three, supply chain processes. How are products moved through the supply chain? And that's different for different products. In some instances, you have some products that move through the supply process chain by aircraft, others by rail, truck, pipeline, so a variety of ways. Trucks, also another way that these products move through the supply chain. Number four, supply and demand planning and control. How are OSCM processes managed using computer systems? And we'll get into that a little later with supply chain management processes. Next slide, categorizing operations and supply chain processes. So the main aspects here are planning, sourcing, making, delivering, and returning. Not that returning is something that companies want to do, but understand it's a necessary process. Planning, the processes needed to operate an existing supply chain. Sourcing, very important, selection of supplies that will deliver the goods and services needed to create the firm's product. And also making, producing the major product or service, and delivering, the logistics process such as selecting carriers, coordinating the movement of goods and information, and collecting payments from customers. Returning worn out, excess, and or defective products back from customers. There is a greening, if you will, revolution regarding the return of products to the manufacturer. So there's elimination of waste in landfill, etc., so that hopefully companies can reuse their products. You can take a look at a company like HP, and they have the ink cartridges. By the way, HP ink cartridges are one of the most lucrative, profitable businesses out there. They're talking anywhere 1,700% return on them. And I know it's very frustrating for me every time I buy a cartridge. It seems like it only prints out 20 pages. But if you've seen the new commercials lately, there's a basketball player, not LeBron James, I can't remember his name, but he's pushing a new product where it's not cartridges anymore, but it's a tank, if you will. Okay, moving forward. Operations and supply chain processing, we start with sourcing, we go to making, and then delivering, planning, returning. We take a look at the entire cycle, if you will, of operations and supply chain processes. Categorization of service businesses, okay? So businesses impacting human bodies. So for instance, a service business would be a salon or a fitness center or a health center. Also businesses that are directed at physical products, freight transportation, laundry, etc. Businesses that are directed at people's minds, advertising, education, arts and entertainment. Businesses directed at risk and money management, insurance, legal services, banking, also accounting. Those are service businesses. And they don't have a specific product, they have a specific service. Here we have something called the goods services continuum. We have pure goods, core services, pure services. So for pure goods, you've got food products, chemicals, mining, etc. They're actually products. Core goods, appliances, automobiles, data storage systems, electronic devices, etc. Core services would be staying at a hotel, flying, internet service providers or ISS, and then pure services, university or education, medical or investment advice. So that is the goods and services continuum. And of course, we treat goods and services differently. For instance, how do you inventory services? That's a good question. We can talk about that in our class on Thursday, the 29th. Product service bundling. Sometimes you can combine products and services. And basically this refers to a company building service activities into its product offerings for its customers. Companies that are most successful in implementing this strategy start by drawing together the service aspects of the business under one roof in order to create a consolidated service organization. If you want to take a look at some of the careers in OSCM, it does specialize in managing the planning, production, and distributions of goods and services. And an operations and supply chain manager works with people to figure out the best way to deliver the goods and services to the firm. OSCM jobs are hand-on, working with people and figuring out the best way to do things. Here are some of the possible careers: plant manager, hospital administrator, branch manager, call center, purchasing, quality control, business process improvement analyst, project manager, facilities manager, chief operating officer, operations manager, director of operations, director of distribution and facilities. These are a lot of jobs that I've held in the past. You take a look at the chief operating officer, works with the CEO and president to determine the company's competitive strategy. COO determines location, where a company should be, facilities, which vendors to use, implementation of hiring policy. Once the key decisions are made, the lower level personnel will carry those decisions out. The major concepts that define the OSCM field: you have the manufacturing strategy, just-in-time or JIT, the acronym, TQC or total quality control, and lean manufacturing. What do these mean? Well, let's take a look at manufacturing strategy. Manufacturing strategy emphasizes how a factory's capabilities could be used strategically to gain advantage over a competing company. How can a company do that? Again, this is the kind of question that we'll answer in class, and hopefully someone will bring that up. Just-in-time is an integrated set of activities designed to achieve high volume production using minimal inventories of parts that arrive exactly when they are needed. Why would a company do something like this? Make sure we ask that question in our class on the 29th. TQC aggressively seeks to eliminate causes of production defects. And of course, lean manufacturing. This is to achieve high customer service with minimum levels of inventory investment. Major concepts that define the OSCM are TQM, BPR or business process reengineering, Six Sigma, mass customization. These are all concepts that are utilized in companies today to become more efficient, and also utilizing the supply chain management process for competitive advantage. In electronic commerce, the use of the internet as an essential element of business activity. It's those companies that have the best electronic systems that have a competitive advantage over other companies. And the reason for that is they're able to process their data, they're able to maintain their data, and they're able to utilize that data to make the best decisions for their company. Sustainability. Sustainability has been a big push with newer generations, the X and Y generation. There's more of a concern with greening and polluting the environment less. Having sustainable operations, for instance, companies that utilize a lot of paper, like McDonald's. You ever go to McDonald's and you have a takeout, there's so much paper that they have that they produce to package their food. There's a concern there that they're destroying the forest. Well, they try to have more of a sustainability in utilizing packaging that is not going to be gone forever. They work with companies that supply them this paper, and they're reforesting those areas that are cut down so that their footprint, if you will, their environmental footprint is lessened. Triple bottom line. It's a business strategy that not only includes regular profitability, but also brings in social, economic, and environmental criteria in there. Business analytics, something that's true and dear to my heart, is the use of current business data to solve business problems using mathematical analysis. With the advent of the technology, I remember when I was 9 years old and I got a calculator for my birthday. I was so excited. It was about this big. It was $150, which was a lot of money when I was 6 years old. And it could just do addition, subtracting, multiplication, and dividing, and that's it. But that time it was in your hand and you didn't have to do it manually. And from that point on now, we've got artificial intelligence, predictive analytics. You can predict from your data, from your sales, where those sales are going to be and how much they're going to be, and you can deploy resources to respond to that. Just the same way as the police departments around the country are beginning to use business analytics to figure out where they need to deploy their forces so they can anticipate where crimes are being committed based upon previous data. AI is transforming. I've been using AI recently on being able to develop PowerPoints as well as asking it questions and putting presentations together. So it's a very, very powerful tool, as I'm sure all of you are aware. Let's move on. When did OSCM concepts become popular? You can see this timeline from the 70s and 80s on, and you can basically realize that each one of these concepts that became popular was using technology and electronics. And I don't know what's happening in the 2030s and the 2040s, but if previous timelines are any indication, we're in for some technology developments that are going to be very beneficial to business and probably eliminate quite a few jobs. Current issues in operations and supply chain management. Disruptions in global supply chains. What we saw during the pandemic was a double whammy in addition to the death and destruction that was caused by COVID-19. What happened is many people were not able to go to work. Businesses were shut down. And then the United States actually saw that it was very dependent upon a lot of foreign companies for their basic needs. For instance, China at the time was producing 98% of antibiotics. We witnessed in the early 2000s a move from manufacturing from the United States, offshoring to those areas where it was much, much more productive. And then when those areas were disrupted, we didn't have products that were coming in. So disruptions in global supply chains really pointed out the inefficiencies in American supply chains and the necessity to strengthen them and to basically reduce risk. And we'll talk about that more in class. We'll talk about things like heat maps, where if you have a global supply chain, you're going to be aware of all of the information and news in those areas so that you can anticipate any kind of future disruptions and then have a plan B in place so that you're not affected. Uncertainty in global tariffs and regulations. Well, we see in our crazy world today that we've got disruptions and we have wars in multiple locations around the world. Sometimes these are not anticipated, and then all of a sudden there are flare-ups, and companies that are getting supplies from these areas that are in a flare-up are no longer getting those supplies, or there's embargoes of some kind And this, like I said, uncertainty in global tariffs and regulations. Difficulty in hiring and keeping employees. People will jump from one company to another if they can get a competitive advantage in terms of salaries or opportunities to work on newer technology. So companies have to be keenly aware of how they're going to keep their employees. And the last one, adapting to change in business technology and infrastructure. We live in a fast-moving world where we do things. One of my old bosses told us that we always do things the second best way, and we're always trying to look for the best way of doing things. And that means that you might have been doing things for the same way for years and years, but then all of a sudden there's technology out there that completely disrupts it. Or there's people who are trained much better than existing staff, and you have to bring them in to the fold and change how you do business. So companies must be not only adaptable, but also flexible. Efficiency, effectiveness, and value. A ratio of the actual output of a process relative to some standard. That's efficiency. Effective, doing the things that will create the most value for the customer. And what is value? The attractiveness of a product relative to its price. Efficiency, effectiveness, and value. Three things that are very, very important in companies. We're going to take a stop right here, and then we'll continue in a minute. Hi, we are back, and the next slide we're going to take a look at is analytics exercise, comparing companies using Wall Street efficiency measures. This is the part we're going to take a look and analyze a firm. So earnings growth is largely a function of profitability. Profits can be increased through higher sales or lower cost, and I don't think it's an either or. I prefer a company who has increasing profits and higher sales at the same time, because sometimes what happens is the company will increase its sales and it looks really good at the top line, but the bottom line is that expenses are increasing and the profit is decreasing. A company can buy sales from acquiring another company, but then they may have additional costs involved in getting those sales. So a company that is growing in sales, and if the profit is actually increasing at a higher percentage than the sales, that's the kind of sweet spot that I'd like to see in a company, and that's a company that I would like to invest in. Right? Also, highly efficient firms usually do well during recessions. That's because they're keeping an eye on the bottom line. Benchmarking, a process in which one company studies the processes of another company in order to identify best practices. We have this all the time, where companies are always taking a look at what other companies are doing. If Coke comes out with a new soft drink, Pepsi is not far behind. If McDonald's has a new chicken sandwich, Burger King is not far behind. It seems like anytime one company does something that's successful, another company follows it. Take a look at television, the major networks. All of a sudden one has a reality show and it's been doing well, boom, another one has a reality show. So, imitation is a mild form of flattery, because when one is doing it and others doing it, it's showing that they're copying and they're recognizing that, well, this was successful, why not? Let's do it as well. Moving forward, management efficiency ratios. So these three formulas, receivable turnover, inventory turnover, and total asset turnover, are important management efficiency ratios. And these are good for whether or not you want to do business with the company, whether you want to work for a company, or if you want to invest in a company. These ratios are important because it tells you a particular story. So for receivables turnover, you divide annual credit sales by the average account receivable. As for inventory turnover, this is a really important measure as well. It's cost of goods sold divided by the average inventory ratio. This is sometimes known as inventory turns. How many times does a company turn its inventory? Well, the higher the turn of the inventory, the higher the sales, and hopefully that company is profitable, so if it's higher sales, then the expectation is it's higher profit. Total asset turnover is basically revenue or sales divided by total assets. Summary. This is what we've reviewed already. Processes are used to implement the strategy of a firm. Analytics are used to support the ongoing decisions needed to manage the firm. And OSCM people specialize in managing the production of goods and services. OSCM jobs are hands-on and require working with others and figuring out the best way to do things. The COO works with the CEO and company president to determine the company's competitive strategy, and COOs determine an organization's location, its facilities, which vendors to use, and how the hiring policy will be implemented. Many of the concepts that form OSCM fields have their origins in the Industrial Revolution in the 1800s. This concludes Chapter 1. Thank you for listening, and we'll be on to Chapter 2 shortly.